impacting all of us, which is why we've seen such a rapid increase in the policy adoption baked into the National Housing Plan that we put out recently, because we understand that we need to do more and do differently.
So would it be fair then to say that your government that promised affordable housing to young people in 2015 continues to promise it now, that perhaps your objectives have been wrong over the past 9 years?
I know math is not the Conservative Party of Canada's forte.
And the budget will balance itself.
So,
Jamal is asking all the right questions. Welcome back to Canada Wide. Don't forget to like, subscribe to Canada Wide. Let's have a listen to Jamal. And Stephen Fraser deserves a lot harder questions than what he has ever gotten before. That guy just moves from department to department, destroying it, and then blaming the other incumbent, which is actually him. Let's have a look.
And young Canadians may be right to not believe your promises today.
I'm not asking anyone to believe promises. I'm asking them to compare the plans that different folks are putting on the table. And there's no contest. We're the only party who's put forward a serious plan to address the national housing crisis. And those who work in the housing space are saying so. I do think that we needed to do more. Had we moved sooner, we would have been further along. But it was the first time in 30 years that the federal government had stepped back into the affordable housing space. And the National Housing Strategy was a positive development in that regard. But in particular, since 2021, the latter part of the pandemic and since, we've seen a lot of the housing stock built up. We've seen the supply has been exhausted, and the cost of building with inflationary pressures has increased the cost of building, which has a negative impact on the pace of building. So we need to do more. I'm not going to look anybody in the eye and tell them things are perfect when it comes to housing. I'm going to be the first to say, I know we need to do more, but then I'm going to be the person who actually goes and does it.
He's the only party that looks after the housing that he has failed at. And I think that the question really is, he's supposed to. He's in charge for 10 years, the Liberal government. Like, to say that, they're the only party, Liberals are the only party that stepped up to the housing. Well, they created the problem by flooding Canada, 1.3 million people a year. They did it. They're fixing their own problem, and they're just blaming it, like giving them a pat on the back. Let's go on.
Well, as you say you want to do more, I'd like to draw your attention to an example from the Edmonton area. A young man named Harley, who I think is an example similar to many young people I hear from and many of our colleagues hear from, who explained that he did everything right, everything he was asked to do. He worked hard, he went to school, he got a high-paying job. Now he wants to move into a bigger place, and rent has become so high that he says, and I quote, "If I move into a nicer place, it's basically like I'm working a minimum wage job. I'm just trying to make ends meet." Where does Harley fit into you exceeding your objectives?
Harley is the kind of a person that was in mind when we developed the National Housing Plan. I'll be the first to say, although we may have exceeded the objectives that we've set in terms of number of units at the outset of the National Housing Strategy, we now need to do more because the circumstances have changed, and Harley's not the only person in that situation. Harley fits into our plan to help build more homes by accelerating the pace of home building, by reducing the cost of building, making it easier to build more homes. Harley fits into our plan when we're looking at helping people transition into home ownership. Harley fits into our plan when we look at the Renters' Bill of Rights that we're putting forward. There's a number of different...
Would it be fair to say, though, that Harley has every good reason to be concerned, perhaps hearing you speak, because under your government, mortgage payments have doubled, rent payments have doubled, and yet you seem to be having a very different tone and message when you talk about housing in this country than what a lot of young people... When I hear young people speak, I hear words like stuck, trapped, unfair, and you're out here saying you're exceeding objectives. That seems very tone deaf to what's going on.
Tone deaf, yes, tone deaf, and also it's just the lying is at such a level with the Liberals. It's just, I think it's sort of like they just want to drag it out as long as possible and take money and give it to their friends. That's really their end goal. How long can they push it out? How long before any Canadian pushes back? That's all they care about, and they're talking years to crap on them, push them out, extend it as long as possible, take as much money as you can from taxpayers and give it to their Liberal friends. And this Bill of Rights sounds wicked, wicked, right? But in 10 years, this guy is going to be paying tooth and nail, and the house price will still be a lot more at that time. And all they'll have is a piece of paper and then saying he pays his bills on time, and he still has no money saved to actually do it. Let's go on.
So to be clear, I don't think that there has been enough done on housing and we need to do more. I'm not trying to say because we exceeded a target that was established in 2017 that all problems are solved, and I don't want to be misinterpreted in that regard. We need to do more, and I find it ironic when I hear some of these arguments being advanced by the Conservative side when you don't have measures in your plan to increase the pace of home building.
Forgive me if you have frustrations with what you regard to be our party's position, but I think young people across this country are rightly frustrated that we were promised affordable housing in 2015 when you first got elected. It's 9 years later, and the promises that you're making are identical, while things have only gotten worse.
With respect, the policies that we're committing to are not identical. This is, as many observers will tell you, the most ambitious housing plan in half a century that Canada has seen. This is a different and more substantive plan that was put out in 2017 because we've seen in the last few years affordability challenges mount at an extraordinary pace. We want to do more to address this changing landscape. That's why we have significantly more tax measures to increase the pace of home building. It's why we're working with municipalities to reduce barriers to building. It's why we're putting measures on table to help young people get into the market if they want to become owners, and to help build more rental stock to bring the price down if they want to remain renters. There are unique challenges that exist today that are different fundamentally than existed even 3 years ago, not just 9 years ago, and we need to continue to adapt and increase our ambition if we're going to meet the needs of young people today. I'm not asking them just to believe our words. I'm asking them to look at our plan and to see themselves in it.
I'm asking them to look at our plan. I think we've all seen the plan for 10 years, and it's nothing. There's no action. It's all talk. It is similar to the virtue signaling of, like, even a safe supply. Like, let's make sure that the hard drugs are given easier. You know, and then it goes from 500 deaths a year in British Columbia in 2015 to like 2,500. It goes up 5 times. You know, and that, I don't know, do they think that's a success, for example, with the safe supply? And then the next thing they want to do is move it to Toronto. It's like every failure and stupidity, they just double down and do it again and again. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you think. And, you know, Stephen Fraser, if you want to know how an example of a politician talking, that's it right there. Just words keep coming out saying the same thing. Look at our plan, you know, and they're just going to say Pierre doesn't have a plan. You know, they won't even listen to any plan, even the climate plan. They will not listen to anyone. It's only the Liberals or the highway. That's it. They don't care about what anyone thinks. It's just what a small group of people in a room want, and to not tell the truth and hide. Anyway, thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe. See you in the next videos. Best of goodbyes.